The Romans, our amazing Romans, they were the ones who, it was actually one in particular, who came up with the concept and had it agreed for architectural design and military engineering. So, which is not really surprising because with the Roman emperor, not just with artworks and frames of buildings and everything you see, it is utterly amazing in architectural design. So that recognition of would be really, really important. But it was the rules of what to do if somebody broke it was where the Romans came up with a list. And this is amazing. So this is down to, I'm going to say his name wrong, I'm so sure, Marcus Vivatus Bollio. I'm very sorry if I know you're no longer with us, but people who know how to pronounce his name correctly, whoops. Okay, so he again had a poetry and writers contest, and this was in the Roman Empire, and it wasn't the rules of what to do, it was the rules if you broke. This is the bit. So if a poet was being allowed to be tried, convicted, and disgraced if they steal the words of others. Imagine that. Okay, so I bet that wasn't a situation of you've been a bad boy, you don't do it again, especially not the Roman Empire. My brain jumped between a mix between the gladiators and being thrown out to the lions or flogged on the streets as a public entertainment. That was sort of my view on that. You'll be tried, convicted, and disgraced if you did it. I'm thinking it would be public hanging or stoning or other areas. I'll tell you now, if I was in the Roman Empire, I wouldn't risk it. So that was another angle, which started to sort of give it the you don't touch. If you want to have your own intellectual property, wonderful, but don't take the mickey. That's sort of where it come from. Architectural design, I understand. Creative arts, I also understand, and performing arts, and that's why I suppose the areas of the industry that I'm in, it becomes really, really important, because who invented versus who uses compared to who buys off or who claims, it all becomes a bit grey. So then what happened is between the 6th century and the 12th century, possibly all the way up until about the 13th, 14th, then things started to be on who owned. So this is where, for example, an Emperor Zono started sort of going about the modern world and highlighting that there's an issue where people are buying and owning. And what I mean people, I don't mean the commoners of likes of me, but in other words, rule or royal rule or church rule. So if you're an emperor or if you are a church, you're going to have more take, a more take of being able to control of this. That also means that if the church and the royal kings and queens or ever emperors, they were paying for all of this. So it's like, well, I've paid and I want, so it's mine. Cool, but that's like a client of today. So, but again, does that mean that they are the inventors? No, but that is where it sort of all started off a little bit. So fine art ranges in particular seem to be the next one. So you've got poetry, where it sort of wasn't really taken down yet until a lot later, in a sense of written laws and regulations. But fine art or anything to do with creative arts, that seemed to be the next alongside architectural, that you were allowed to be acknowledged, well, to a point. You were paid, so you were acknowledged by name of being paid for. That's cool. That's pretty good, to be honest. Good start. The next one is these favours. When I looked at it, I was like, ooh, gossip, cool. No, it's not that type of favour. Well, it might be. It wasn't recorded anyway. But what I was spotting was to do with, in the Roman Empire, face these masks, and they're death masks. So the death masks were the next one. So if you were somebody who had an awful lot of money and you were able to, in your ancestry, to have your statues and have your death mask, your portfolio on the door of where you lived, then that was recorded by a team who recorded who and what, and of course the cost of that and their types, because it would have been really expensive. It's not like, I don't know, plastic. You didn't have that material in those days. So, and it wouldn't be anyone, again, it wouldn't be me. I wouldn't be allowed to have my death mask attached to my door. I don't think I want one. But anyway, that's the reason. So your death masks were next. Now those death masks, of course, became statues and other things. And again, I said that recorded of intellectual property was where it was like, we can do this. And the records, and you can see on your vases and other part, it's there. It's really quite cool. So that was the next one. The materials and use and how. I just thought of it, just like, wow. So even from the Roman Empire, they had this log. So then it meant that nobody was able to steal it. But let's be honest, imagine it. So reporting it to local police station. I'm so sorry, but my father's death mask was stolen off the door knocker next door. Or having to have a disclaimer for all of us which turn up. Please, can you just make sure you don't knock on his nose or his left and right eye? Yeah, maybe not. So that is sort of the next stage. Okay, so interesting stuff.